Hello, welcome to New Spirit TV. I'm here with Julia Reid, positive thinking coach and entrepreneur. Hello, Julia.
Hi, Alexis.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
Good. Thank you for coming on today. I wanted to ask you, well, firstly, whereabouts in the world are you from?
Originally from Cape Town in South Africa, but I've been in London on and off for the last 15 years, so I love it here.
What brought you to London originally?
Originally I came because a lot of my university friends were having a really fantastic time here, and I was working on the stock exchange in Johannesburg, and life was very, very serious, and I wanted to have a little bit more fun with my friends. And then I came to London and ended up getting into a banking career here, which kind of kept me here because I was doing really well and my job didn't exist in South Africa. And you know, the funny thing about London is once it grows on you, it's such a diverse place with so many wonderful different cultures, and I loved it. I didn't want to leave.
You worked in Dubai teaching positive thinking for 3 years, is that right?
Yes, I taught positive thinking, and I was also working a little bit in finance. It was a great changeable period in my life, and I think Dubai was good for me because it gave me the time to grow spiritually, which is a great shift really, because when you've been working in finance or in banking and you know life is all about making money and keeping up with the rat race, it's really lovely to shift onto a more wholesome spiritual point of view, because one thing about banking is that you don't have much energy or time left for yourself, and all of a sudden I had that time and that space to actually explore the spiritual side of life, which is beautiful and wonderful and enriching, really.
You went through something quite powerful recently, in terms of that you were psychically attacked, and that to a lot of people would sound very strange. But could you explain how that experience was for you?
Well, I didn't actually know what was happening at the time. I did a theta healing course, and in theta healing they help you to increase your psychic abilities so that it's kind of like faith healing. You ask God to heal someone, and then you watch God's light working through somebody's body. And I wanted to see more and more, because the more you can witness a healing, the more healing that actually happens in the person that you're working with. So I was really I went from being a little bit psychic to very psychic. And I guess the danger with that is people who have grown up being psychic, they in families that are psychic, they get taught by their parents or their family members, this is how you protect yourself. And I guess I went from being not very psychic to pretty much super psychic, because I got overexcited about wanting to see all the healing that was going on. And they didn't really teach us about psychic protection. And I suppose it's like anything in life, you know, you jump in a river and there might be parasites in the water. You go through a city, there's lots of positive and negative spirits, and if you know, I was picking up on spirits around me and I was assuming they were all positive, and I didn't realize, because I was newly so psychic, that actually there are some negative entities out there and they can manipulate you, and you might be thinking that you're listening to your angels or to God, and somebody who's more experienced with being a medium or having that psychic ability would have known how to protect themselves, and I didn't have that guidance around me while I was doing my psychic development, which I realized is a mistake I made. So I inadvertently, I think, invited this thing into my life.
So for somebody with no experience of psychic attack, and they wouldn't know what it was, what would your advice be to somebody in terms of psychic protection?
Well, there's a lot that you can do. I mean, luckily, when I was being psychically attacked, initially I actually thought somebody was doing black magic on me, because I thought, why is it so strong, and why is this thing not leaving me alone? And it was exhausting, and it was draining my energy all day and all night, and the prayers weren't working. I mean, what happened to me was I was tricked into doing a ceremony which I actually thought was Holy Communion. And looking back, I think, oh my goodness, what a silly mistake to have made, because I remember lighting a candle, using frankincense and oils, and thinking, goodness, is this really what the priests do? But I think that the spirit was tricking me into doing some sort of ceremony, which was something, I wasn't sure if it was to do with magic, but like I had a candle and another candle, and a vortex of power opened up in the room. And I remember thinking, my goodness, is this what priests see when they're up there on the altar? And I should have stopped at that point, because it was kind of creepy. But then I was thinking, oh, the priests use frankincense and they use candles on the altar in church, and this is fine.
What protected you from the events that followed that? How did you work through it?
I started to do research on the internet, because initially I thought, someone's doing black magic on me, what is messing with me? And I started reading. The thing about negative entities is they like stale energy, and if you're in a low place and feeling negative, they love that. They love the stale energy. They love dirty things. So one thing I started doing was I bathed morning and night. I did a lot of praying. I noticed then, and I slept at night with the light on, because no negative entity is going to attack you during the day. It's always when there's sort of darkness around you, emotionally or physically. So I slept with the light on.
So you'd feel less vulnerable with light?
Yes. And actually, if I turned the lights off, it attacked me 10 times worse. So I actually just, it was through a period of about 3 or 4 weeks. So what I started doing was research on the internet, trying to find solutions of what would help me, because, I had an experience with a negative spirit when I was about 15, and about 2 hours of saying the Lord's Prayer made the spirit go. So this was totally different. This thing was relentless for about 2 weeks, and luckily I eventually realized, I'm being psychically attacked here. And I actually realized that ceremony that I did was the dumbest thing that I could have done, because it somehow opened the door to this thing. And then I started seeking out priests to help me, and the first priest I found, he prayed over me, and the spirit left me alone for about 5 minutes, and then he came and found me 10 or 15 minutes later, and he said, Jules, are you all right? And I said, it left me alone for 5 minutes, but it's back. So luckily he came back with another priest, and he said to me, this is going to decrease your psychic abilities, and it's going to shield you. Can we do this? So I said, go right ahead, because I could actually tell when I closed my eyes, I could almost see this red energy in my left hand, and I almost felt like I had God holding my right hand, and like something negative was almost in the left hand part of my body, which is really strange.
What do you think it was?
I just think it was a negative spirit, really. Sometimes these things feed off us. They feed off our energy because they're attached to the earth plane.
Do you feel that you attracted it in some way, or do you think through the ceremony that you attracted that?
I think I opened a portal by mistake. And actually, funny enough, I used theta healing to close all the portals in my home after that and clear it out.
So theta healing was actually what helped you to overcome that psychic attack, is that right?
It does. I use it every day to protect myself before I go to sleep and to clear out negative energy, and I actively use it now. But in fairness, it was actually the priests who helped get rid of the spirit, because after that I had 2 priests pray over me. It did decrease my psychic abilities significantly, but I'm fine with that. I'm just like, I've got my life back, everything's normal again, and I felt fine, and this thing left me alone after that.
So you were exorcised of this spirit, is that right?
Yeah.
And how do you feel now within yourself about that experience that you went through?
Well, it shook my confidence for a couple of months afterwards. I didn't like going back home and falling asleep, and I had to do a lot of praying and a lot of, in theta healing, you can set up commands about. I have set up a command now where I say, God, please protect me. And it means, fill the house with silver violet energy, fill my aura with silver violet energy, cover me while I'm sleeping in a really protective, almost like armor that only love and light can enter. And I do this automatically with 3 simple words now, because I've set up the command. So I do that daily, and I'm actively protecting myself all the time, and it's been good because in a way, you know, there are parasitic things that you can encounter on the earth plane, and there are parasitic things that are happening on the spiritual plane. And I think it's very important that you learn to protect yourself, because, you know, the raising of the frequency of the planet is going on. People are becoming more psychic, they're becoming more sensitive. And you've got to realize that you have to be discerning, you have to learn to protect yourself, because if you are concentrating on love and light and bringing abundance into your life, you're going to be misled from time to time, because things are going to come along and interfere with you. And God has a plan for you, and it is your plan, and it's what you've been praying for and sort of trying to visualize and bring into your life. But then sometimes we have these other influences, and it's about being discerning and protecting yourself so that you can stay on track, you know.
We talked about soul contracts and how the possibility of actually that it was your soul contract to have that experience. Do you believe that that's the case?
Well, I think that my higher self allowed the spirit in, because I had to learn, I think, not only about protecting myself on an ongoing daily basis. Like if I go to a trade show and I protect my energy levels before speaking to 100 people that day, I'm not exhausted at 5 o'clock. Whereas if I forget to do that, I'm exhausted, because we absorb so much. We're all sharing energy, you know. You speak to somebody who's not in a good mood, or they might dump all their problems on you, and you know. So it's important to know.
So it was about protecting yourself and shielding yourself and staying in a positive frame of mind. Is that right?
I think it's a bit of that, and I think it's also that it's taught me a lot of empathy for people. You know, a lot of the time psychiatrists think that people are mentally unwell, when actually they're not. They are sometimes being psychically attacked. And, you know, yes, there are mental illnesses where people genuinely have a problem. But then there's a lot of issues where people can be psychically attacked that manifest to other people looking like they have a mental problem, and it's not. It's a spiritual problem. So it's really taught me to have empathy, actually, and to realize that, you know, in healing work, like I've done some healing on a schizophrenic who was having problems with entities attacking him as well. So it's been interesting for me, where, you know, we tar people with just mental issues, but sometimes actually it's very much spiritual. And that's been a great lesson for me, actually, with healing people and helping them, but also helping myself.
Well, I'm very glad that you're in a good place right now. And what does this future hold for you?
Well, at the moment, I'm just working on creating abundance in my own life, because I'd like to teach people about abundance, how to create abundance in their own lives, and how to stay on track. And I actually think all these challenges with negative, you know, you have negative people in life, you have on the earth plane, you have negative spirits, and it's really about learning to stay on track in your personal power, not become distracted by these things. Realize when you're being distracted, realize how to protect yourself, clear the space around you, and really just keep on track, you know, because if you listen to The Secret and you follow the laws of abundance and you can stay on track, you can really grow and you can do wonderful, amazing things with that. But we are pulled off track, and it is because of negative entities, negative influences in our lives, and it's really just about learning to stay in your personal power, in your personal zone of, I'm going to be a success, I'm creating success, and learning to hold onto that and stay in that sort of groove of the universe. Yeah.
As a closing message, what would you like to say to people that are watching right now?
Well, if you're going to do psychic development, learn to protect yourself. And it's a good thing to learn to do anyway, daily. Say a prayer that you be protected while you sleep, because, you know, spirits tend to go for us while we're sleeping because we're a little bit more vulnerable. So you can say a little prayer, but, you know, I also wouldn't worry too much, because you have to do something silly like what I did to allow them in. They can't really harm you, but one does need to learn to actively protect yourself, especially if you're a little bit psychic, because you're easier to manipulate and they enjoy that. because they can pop thoughts into your mind and manipulate you easier if you are picking up on all of their messages. So it's a little bit more exciting for them and a bit more of a challenge for you if you have psychic abilities.
Thank you for being so courageous and brave and honest with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
You're watching New Spirit TV. Thank you.